When I first married Michael, I knew I wasn't just marrying a man. I was stepping into the role of a stepmother to his teenage son, Ethan. Becoming a step-parent isn't something people can ever fully prepare for, no matter how many books they read or advice they collect from friends. It's unpredictable, messy, beautiful, and sometimes heartbreakingly difficult. Michael and I had met 3 years before our wedding. He was a widower, raising Ethan alone after his wife, Laura, had passed away from a long illness. Ethan was only 9 then, and by the time Michael and I grew serious, he was already 12, a stage in life where boys are complicated, moody, and often unsure about their feelings. I was worried. Not because I didn't like Ethan, on the contrary, he was bright, polite in his own shy way, and very protective of his dad, but because I wasn't sure he would ever accept me. The wedding itself was simple, filled with family, laughter, and warmth. But beneath my smile that day, there was a quiet worry. Would Ethan ever see me as more than an intruder in his life? At first, life together was awkward. Ethan never disrespected me, but he kept his distance. He would answer politely when I asked him about school, but the conversations never went further. He still clung tightly to memories of his mother, and I respected that deeply. I never wanted him to think I was trying to replace her. Instead, I tried to simply be present, quietly weaving myself into the fabric of their lives, offering support where I could without overstepping. Some days, though, it was hard. I'd come home from work and see him and Michael watching old family videos of him and Laura, and I'd quietly retreat to the kitchen, telling myself it was okay. This was their healing, their way of holding on to her. I just had to be patient. Over time, small changes began to happen. Ethan started to linger in the kitchen while I cooked, asking if he could help chop vegetables or stir a pot. Once, when he had a school project about American history, he came to me for help, saying his dad wasn't as good with writing essays as I was. These were small victories, but to me, they felt monumental. Still, I never expected what happened next. It was a Saturday afternoon in early spring. The air was just warming, flowers beginning to bloom, and there was a sense of renewal in everything. Michael had gone out to run errands, leaving Ethan and me at home together. I was folding laundry in the living room when Ethan walked in, looking nervous but determined. "Hey, can I talk to you?" he asked, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "Of course," I said, setting the laundry basket aside. "What's up?" He sat down on the edge of the couch, fiddling with his hands. "So, next week at school, we have this thing. It's like a bring someone special day. You know, like how people bring their moms or dads to talk about them." I nodded, my heart already bracing. I assumed he would want to take Michael. It was natural. "That sounds nice," I said gently. "Yeah," he continued, glancing at me, then quickly away. "I was thinking, I want you to come with me." For a moment, I was speechless. My throat tightened, and I could hardly believe what I'd just heard. You want me?" I whispered. "Yeah." His voice cracked slightly, but he looked me in the eyes this time. "I know I didn't always show it, but you've been there for me. You listen. You help me. And I think Mom would have liked you. I want my classmates to meet you." Tears stung my eyes, and I reached for his hand without even thinking. "Ethan, that means the world to me. Of course I'll go." He smiled a little shyly, but it was the kind of smile that carried weight, the kind that told me this wasn't just a polite gesture. This was acceptance. This was his way of saying I mattered in his life. The week that followed felt different in our home. Ethan seemed lighter, more open. He chatted with me about what his classmates might ask, and he even asked if I could bring some of the cookies I baked because he thought they'd like them. Michael, when he found out, was deeply moved. He pulled me into his arms that night and whispered, "I think you finally broke through, honey. He sees you." The day of the event arrived, and I'll admit, I was nervous. I dressed carefully, not too formal, not too casual. I wanted to make Ethan proud. When we walked into his classroom together, his small hand slipped into mine, and that single gesture nearly brought me to tears all over again. For the first time, I wasn't just the stepmom hovering on the sidelines. I was his chosen person. The teacher asked each student to introduce their special guest and say why they brought them. When it was Ethan's turn, he stood up, his voice steady though his cheeks flushed pink. "This is my stepmom, Sarah," he said, glancing at me with a small smile. "I brought her because she's been really kind to me and my dad. She helps me with school, she makes the best cookies, and she makes our house feel like home again." The room blurred as my eyes filled with tears. Those words were more than I ever hoped to hear. In that moment, every doubt, every quiet fear that I hadn't been enough, melted away. I realized then that love doesn't always come in grand declarations or perfect beginnings. Sometimes it arrives in small, unexpected gestures that carry more meaning than anything else. That day changed everything between us. Ethan and I grew closer, little by little. He started confiding in me about his friends, about crushes, about his dreams for the future. We still had our ups and downs, of course, but I no longer felt like an outsider looking in. I felt like family. And it all started with one unexpected gesture that I'll treasure for the rest of my life.